Good morning. I've been looking forward to saying that ever since I was asked to be with you here this morning. My name is Simon. I've come all the way from Johannesburg in South Africa to be your moderator today. And I want to start off by thanking the Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship, not only for flying me all the way from Johannesburg to be with you here today, embracing that entrepreneurial spirit of risk. I mean, what could go wrong, right? Flying me through the night to come and moderate discussions in front of a crowd I know nothing about. I have a plan around that. I'm going to keep you locked in this room all day, and apparently there's something called the Stockholm Syndrome that'll kick in sooner or later. We'll all be getting on by the end of the day. But also for preparing this event. It's going to be amazing. We have speakers covering everything from global megatrends in business and biotech to the science of happiness and the art of design. I can't wait to get into our discussions today. They've also given me two helpers who will be facilitating things today, making my life easier. I want to introduce you to Niels and Emma. And if you have questions for our speakers today, please send them to the SMS line. The number that's in your documentation, your paperwork with you isn't correct, but we will have the right number up on the screen. So please pay attention to the screens for your SMS questions. Otherwise, use Twitter with the hashtag GM2011, GM2011. And Niels and Emma will get your questions, and they'll put them to the speakers today. Our stage today is very special. It's been designed around a concept that the SSCS came up with. And to tell you more about that, I want to introduce you to the stage designer. You've already met her, Emma. And Emma, maybe you could tell us a bit about this concept. It looks really cool.
Yeah, good morning. It's actually not just myself, but another colleague from Experience Design Group at Konstfack, Fernanda Tor, who's sitting somewhere over there. We watched the TED Talk from Steve Johnson. Great ideas come from coffee shops. And we thought, why not extend that to Good Morning? Lots of great ideas, lots of great coffee. You'll meet our baristas at some point in the day. So in the breaks, come up, meet the speakers, have a chat, take a coffee.
Coffee, discussion, sounds fantastic. I want to start off this morning with a short presentation that I have. As I said, I'm from South Africa. I have some companies that I'm involved with, but predominantly I'm involved in media, broadcasting, and writing for the most part. It's an interesting country, and of course embedded in the emerging world, which is something close to my heart and something I'm going to speak about at length later today. But I want to... Is this thing working? Ah, there we go. I want to start off today speaking about light. Because light is synonymous with our civilization. If you were an alien that had just come into Earth's orbit and you were looking down on the planet, one of the clues you would get that there was something different about this planet would be all of these concentrations of light you would notice everywhere. And all this weird blue stuff floating around. But mostly light. We're obsessed with light. It defines us in a way. It began with the sun. This thing that came up every morning, this ball of light, and it would chase away the monsters that had been hunting us all night. And then it would go away, it would die, and it would rise the next morning. It's no wonder we started making up stories about what it was and start worshipping it. But we figured out how to harness light, how to create it ourselves. We started gathering around light. We came up with ways of chasing away those monsters at night ourselves. Then we discovered and harnessed electricity, and the first thing we did with it was we made light. And we started lighting up our cities. But then we realized something really amazing about light. It can be used to carry thoughts and ideas around the planet. We can force light through tiny cables that are the breadth of a human hair. And we can send messages everywhere. We're able to send information from the top of the world, Stockholm, Sweden, to the bottom of the world, Cape Town, South Africa. And what do we do with all of this power? This ability we have to send signals in a few microseconds around the world. Lolcats, of course. That's what we do with it. Lolcats and porn. No. We use it to collaborate. There we go. Collaboration. And that really is a central theme today. Bringing people together and getting them to work together, to take advantage of the situation that we have in the world today, where it's becoming more inclusive and where business is changing. You see, for a long time, we have been experimenting with business and with companies and with organizations and how they work. And we've been trying to figure it out. I met somebody in the USA who said, we haven't been doing this whole company thing for very long, and we're not sure it's turning out to be such a great idea. And that got me thinking about the idea of a company, of an organization, of its permanent structure, of getting up every morning at 9 o'clock, or depends where you live in the world, some people 5, 6, 7 o'clock, going to a space, sitting on Facebook all day, going home. And when you ask children about this idea, they have trouble with it. You know, we have a layer of answers when we're presented with these questions. Like my son came to me and he said, "Dad, why are you wearing a tie?" And I said, "Because it looks good." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "I don't know." Okay, there's a lot of things we're doing today that we don't know a whole lot about. But business is changing because of our capacity for collaboration. We're learning that the way that businesses worked in the past doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? And so we're starting to see a new environment emerge where we have temporary organizations. They come together for the time that they needed, they converge around projects, and then people move on and they go and do something else. I firmly believe that the future is in freelancing, that people will work this way, that we will embrace this environment of people coming into organizations, forming temporary structures, achieving a goal, and moving out. Of course, we will always have corporations. We will always have names that don't change. But the way that we work will. I recently spoke to a software development team that had assembled around this sort of idea with people from all over the world. They had developers in Bangladesh. They had graphic designers in Cape Town. They had business people in Johannesburg and London and writers in Nairobi, working from all over the world on this project and then going their separate ways. And so this is becoming a big business idea as well. I was at IBM's headquarters in Armonk, New York, 2 years ago. I was fortunate enough to meet with Sam Palmisano. And they have this smart planet agenda. It's a strategy that they're working into the way that IBM operates today around analysis. This is one of their proofs of concept. That is an intelligent buoy, which is in Galway Bay in Ireland. It's completely solar powered, and it has sensors all over the buoy. And what it's doing is it's reading water temperature, water levels, it's monitoring ships in the bay, it's monitoring fish, and it's not being accessed or by only one organization. There are literally 5 to 7 organizations, when I spoke to Sam Palmisano 2 years ago, that were plugging into these buoys. You had the fisheries, you had the Ports Authority, you had environmentalists, you had people watching water purity, and they were all connecting to this shared buoy, this idea of shared infrastructure, coming together and creating things that aren't owned by any one company, but that benefit them all. My obsession is with Africa. And I was thinking about how we could start to get collaboration happening across the continent in a more meaningful way, and indeed across the developing world. But I started with Africa, right? Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, lots of great people around the continent, and how do we get them to work together? I've been messing around with the idea of a business incubator or a accelerator, and I have a model I want to share with you really quickly. And I decided to put it on a serviette because we are in a cafe after all, and all the best ideas, everybody knows this, are drawn up on the back of serviettes. And so my napkin idea for this incubator that myself and a colleague came up with was to have companies, there are 4 in the picture, and have them come together in this incubator / accelerator, and we give them things they need. This is not a new model, right? We put that circle in, which is a sort of a period of time where they're expected to meet certain agendas, certain requirements to stay a part of the whole. We give them space, bandwidth, and time, financial support, centralized resources, and mentorship. They need to reach the circle by 6 to 12 months, and after 18 to 24 months, they hit a very hard edge where they're expected to be self-sustaining. But the big question was, how do we get them to collaborate? How do we stimulate that? And the answer we came up with was to go back to the core of the organization. Create a centralized fund, create a board that administers it, and then give them all shares in it. And so they all have equity in the centralized structure. It's not a new idea. If you've read up on the new maths of ownership, this should be something that rings familiar. But we give them these shares in each other's companies. And now they have a vested interest in working together. We think this kind of model is going to become more common. We think this is the kind of idea that can stimulate collaboration. And at the end of today, as I said, we're going to talk more about this environment in emerging markets, about what's happening in my part of the world, and the opportunity that I think lies there.